On April 10th, we held our annual Wildland Fire Interface Drill. This drill is set up every year to prepare our wildland firefighters as well as the community for the event of a wildland fire. The exercise was set up both to test the skills of the firefighters and also to test the ability of the community to evacuate out of the community safely and successfully to an evacuation shelter.
With the dryness that we have in our beetle kill, it's going to happen somewhere someday. And it's just wonderful that they had the opportunity to do a dry run.
The wildland mitigation exercise just allows the fire department and the rescue companies and the citizens all to work together to prepare for those large-scale incidents and be ready for them when they occur.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a unique area too, so yeah, it definitely makes us feel better that we did the drill because of all the tight roads and only one way in and out, so it's not that easy to evacuate this area, so it's good, definitely good to practice it.
The community really needs to understand that anyone could be impacted by an evacuation. There are so many other reasons other than wildland fire that could cause an evacuation to occur in your neighborhood. You could have flooding. We could have a hazardous materials type of incident, whether it's an overturned tanker or a facility that has a release. We could have a situation where a suspicious device is found in your neighborhood. So it's important to think globally as a community that this could happen to any of us.
I think it helps the citizens grow in confidence. I think exercises tend to help them sort through their own thought process of what they would do in an actual incident.
When the call comes in, that alert and notification from a dispatch center to your home, the adrenaline starts pumping. You're not thinking clearly. You're wondering about saving those valuable possessions and of course your family and getting them all out safely.
It's just really good to know where everything is and to know what your list is and where it's at, and let's get it and let's go.
But if you practice in advance, thinking through in advance of an actual evacuation, what are those things that are most important to you that you would like to take, then that pressure of thinking through those very specific items, very specific things that you need to do before you leave the house have already been set in your mind, and that makes the evacuation a lot easier for you.
This is an emergency message from your local 911 center. Please stand by.
This is the Douglas County Sheriff's Office with an exercise-only notification.
There's a fast-moving wildfire in Roxborough Park requiring a mandatory
Immediate evacuation through the Roxborough Drive North Ravina exit.
Our emergency notification system here in Douglas County is known as Everbridge. The way to sign up is just go to dcsheriff.net and you'll see a big button right on that webpage which will tell you Citizen Alert Notifications, sign up here. Click on that button and it will lead you to a page that allows you to enter in your information about where you live, your name obviously, your address, and any type of device that you might want to have registered so that we can notify you, whether that's a cell phone, your email, your pager, anything that can receive an electronic message, we can send that message to. And the way the system works, it will notify any or all of those devices. It will start by your number one priority. You get to prioritize which device you want notified first, and it will continue to notify each of those devices until you let the system know by pressing 1 that you've received the message. And so it's really a great tool to get a hold of you in any number of ways, because as we know, electronic devices can fail. You may be out of reach of a particular type of device, so having multiple ways that you can be notified is a good thing. When the call comes through, the dispatcher will tell you what kind of emergency it is, and they will then give you directions as to which evacuation route you need to take, and they will tell you whether it's an urgent, immediate evacuation or whether or not you have some time. And they will also let you know if it is a required evacuation or mandatory, or if it is not mandatory. In order to be prepared for an evacuation, it's important to start right from the very beginning, assessing what items you would like to take from your house in the situation where you have to leave immediately. And that's going to be different for everyone.
Of course, it's a little different though if it's a quick moving, wildfire versus, with the Hayman fire, we kind of had some notice, but, our take on it usually is if you can buy it, then you leave it. It ends up being a pretty small pile of what you end up taking in the end.
The primary purpose for us not only was to introduce the clients to the appearance of a shelter, but to also instruct them in preparedness, which is crucial to all evacuation and disaster concepts. So we did talk to them about what to think about ahead of time before an evacuation. Think about your medications, your pets, your children, things that you need to plan for if you get that call saying, leave your house, the fire is coming.
We do recommend that everyone prepare what's called a 72-hour emergency kit. And in that kit, you would have items that would allow you to be comfortable for the next 72 hours. Items like food and water. If you have children, items to keep them occupied like coloring books and iPods. If you are a person that is on medication, to have prescriptions for your medication, copies of those in your kit. If you have animals, that would be pet food to bring along with them. There are families that are not really concerned with those basic necessities that we would put in a 72-hour kit. They feel the most important thing that they would need to have is some money and a credit card, and that's fine as well. We do recommend that folks have copies with them, whether it's digitally or actual hard copies of important papers, such as your mortgage papers that you might want to have, or maybe some copies of your income tax returns. And so it's important to think those things through in advance, because once the fire is in your backyard, you're just not going to be thinking clearly to prepare for that. It's important to think about the routes that you would potentially need to take. So before the actual day of the evacuation, go take a drive to where those exit points are. It's also important to pre-plan where you're going to go during an evacuation. Now, during an evacuation such as wildfire, the Office of Emergency Management is going to have shelters set up. We'll work with the Red Cross and our other volunteers active in disaster to have a shelter available for families to go to during that evacuation sequence. However, many folks aren't comfortable staying in a shelter. They would rather go to a hotel or go to family or friends. So if that's your plan, think that through. For evacuation preparedness information, you can go to dcsheriff.net/emergency management, where we have our emergency preparedness guide posted, and that would give some very good information about preparing for any kind of disaster as well as an evacuation. Also, the FEMA, for Federal Emergency Management Agency website, has tremendous resources on there in order to prepare you for an evacuation.
If we got a phone call right now, I think we'd be ready to run around the house and get everything and put our little evacuation sign on the front door and go.